Now in this video I have a Electophone, GME Electophone GR950 auto reverse boat radio cassette player. So it's basically an automotive one. Don't know whose unit they rebadged, but I assume it came out of somewhere like Eurovox or somewhere. Should actually have a plastic cover over this, a tinted Perspex one, and you can see where the hinges for it were, they busted off. But these were made for use in boats, so fairly waterproof. Things all kind of sealed up. Had that front cover thing as well. And I don't think I've ever really looked at one of these. I always thought they're kind of cool, just because it's a car cassette in white, which looks a bit different. And this one was only $5. So I thought I'd grab it, even just for parts out of the cassette deck. But it's probably a going unit other than possibly needing belts. So it looks like that just comes off. Somewhere in there we're probably going to find out what it is. What actually, I wonder if these hold it in. Let's get them out of the way anyway. The bracket's been chopped up a bit. I'm pretty sure they're going to be helping to hold it in its case. Or is it this seal at the front? Who knows? I don't see any obvious. Is there something under there? Could this be part of it? Yeah, I think that bolt actually goes right through. That's a nice bit of stainless by the look of it. That's usually just for holding the back of the unit solid, but in this case it makes sense to actually use it to hold the case on. Oh, there we go, nice and simple. It's got an azimuth adjustment. So it's 4 speakers, it's actually got auxiliary in. This probably isn't that old, relatively. That's the colour it originally was before it went all yellow in the sun. Oh, you can see it's a bit wider on the bottom. No, not a single label on this thing, so maybe it was custom made. Maybe they just didn't want anyone to put their details on it. Oh, so what's making that noise? It's just a little spacer falling off that bolt on the back. I might have to put all those bits back on there for now so I don't lose them. Nothing to really say what sort of unit it is. Someone who works on these things might know. But I would assume it's made by another manufacturer. You'd never know, they might have made their own, but since they are a CB manufacturer, it's very unlikely you would tool up just to make these. But I did know they existed, I just haven't actually seen one before. Looks like actually I should have took that off first. Get that seal out of the way. Pretty standard looking Mech. Still don't know if any of these are tensions or not, but some of them must be because they made so many of them. Actually in very nice condition. The belt's still in place by the look of it. But yeah, it just could be anything here. 2 amp chips in it. So definitely 4 channel. No other real markings that I can see. It doesn't even say where it was made or anything, does it? I think most of the details are on the front of it. It's got some sort of dust down in there. As this piece come off, it should sort of start to unclip. Because that would normally be the bit you'd put in your car dash once you mounted it. And it's been made for mounting in a standard DIN thing, I think. And you know, why would you make it mount in a standard DIN if it's just for a boat? So most likely out of a factory that does others. I assume this is our power. So we've probably got ground, positive and switched. And that again would suggest it's out of a car, because why on a boat you'd probably just have a separate switch or something to run this thing. I'm guessing these speakers come in pairs of colours. Grey, green, yeah, brown and purple. So I think that would be your speaker pairings. Bit odd the way they've done it, but let's see if we can get power into this thing. Now we really need to join the other two is the problem. So if I shove a bit of wire or something between those two on the back, I think just a bit of solder in there will get them joined together. Looks like right width to jam in there nicely. Yeah. Let's hook to it. Have we got output on? We do. We're not seeing anything so far. Oh. Okay, we've got a clock there. Now we put on some power. Got all the lights on. Radio 87.5. Good idea, put a tape in there. Why not? It's not running. Not chewing either, but it doesn't seem to be turning a little bit. Oh, there we go. It's actually working. Huh, well there you go. Auto reverses. That's interesting. It is still a go. We'll better hook some speakers up. Okay, that should have it. Yeah, there we go, bit of sound. Shove a wire in the antenna connector. Speaker wire, antenna wire that is. Any bit of wire in a good reception area will do the job. A screwdriver in there, I used to just shove a screwdriver in a lot of the time because it was the first thing on the bench that would fit. Well, it works on one channel. Where's our Love Songs tape? Pretty terrible. A lot of wow. So let's have a quick look, I guess, see if we can get this Mech out easily. What have we got? Screws, two at the front and one on the end, I think. Probably the main ones. Then it's got some other screws underneath. Looks like you've got to take the plate off. Something's coming a bit loose. I have to take the front panel off. Anything else obvious? There's a screw underneath. Bound to hold the deck. But this thing doesn't look like it's ever been in a boat. As far as there's no corrosion or anything on it, doesn't mean it hasn't. But boat stuff is famous for being corroded. That's usually why they get rid of it in the end. Yes, that doesn't move the buttons, surprisingly. So the buttons are kind of separate. Does this just pop off? Looks like it probably does. Alright, we can see more of it. Oh yeah, so the buttons are separate to these pieces. Not sure that really freed much up though. Do have to take this front bit off maybe. It's, you know, that, oh yeah, no, you just got to get that metal work out from around there. It probably helps taking the front off though. And does it unplug? Looks like it does. You know, inconvenient place. I mean, there's the power. Let's get that loose. That should free us up a bit. We've got some other switch thing hanging here. Is that part of the deck? Or just caught on it? No, it's just caught on it. I was going to say, I wouldn't have thought. That's a nice design. Yeah, it doesn't look like the greatest quality thing I've ever seen. It certainly looks like cheaper end of manufacturing. Something scratching. There's a little spring on the back of the door's been scraping or something. Don't know what's going on there. Oh yes, I've got two belts. That one's obvious. I can already see that one's pretty loose. And yeah, that's very limp. That's why we've got wow in the sound. It's probably not that hard to change. Take this cover off. Well, that's a beautiful, simple design as far as belt replacement. Although it's a bit jammed there, I may have to... I don't want to remove that necessarily. Is that just a bracket or is it going to loosen more of the deck off? I think it's just a loose piece, so that's alright. So that's just a mounting bracket basically. Oh, you'll like that. That's a nice design. Let's see, they spin nicely, hopefully. Yep. And this is going to be a whole other story though, because we've got to at least partially lift that up. What type of motor we got here? Some looks like a cheaper Chinese style one, SW520ED3B. But let's just go by the label design. We do have a Tennyson style black print on this thing. How you would know, I don't have any info on their tape decks, but they must at this stage probably been one of the last people making them, you would think. Now, does this Mech just lift up, or does a million things, or do a million things like move? And you've got to be super careful with auto reverse decks unscrewing anything, because you'll hear a whole lot of levers and stuff move and stuff get out of whack. I think what I'll do is just lift that if I can. Don't tell me there's a big bit sticking out of that pulley. There is a bit of something, or is it part of the Mech? They just have to be difficult, don't they? That's lifting a... Oh, I see the pull. That's not my fault, I think. Oh no, there's a shaft. No, it's a... Oh, is there a shaft right through the pulley? What have they done here? But you're not going to go under that, as I hoped. I think unfortunately we might have to take the risk and lift the whole piece out. It might just come out as one piece and that's it, but they never seem to. It's probably all the reels and stuff. Well, it'd have to be. It's all the reels and auto reverse Mech and stuff. Well, we can lift it that far. I think it is all coming up as one piece. I think we'll just lift that up. At least we can get over that pulley now. Yeah, it's got a shaft up it. It should have actually, you didn't have to lift it too far to get over the top. Yeah, something like this sort of size. It might even be a bit short. Let's put one on there and see what it's like. Should really clean the pulleys, but these actually look pretty clean. It's just the belts have deteriorated with age a bit. I don't know when I think these, they at least had some models of these out in the 90s. And I doubt they would have gone far into the 2000s if at all. But this one looks like it could be around that sort of era. Like around the year 2000 or something. Not too tight, I think that's about perfect, that one. Chuck that little one out. But that's a 1.4mm. Surprised it made 1.4s in this size, because I'm not sure you ever, it's probably why it's never been used, because I doubt there were any home audio cassette players or anything with bigger belts that ever would have used a belt this long. These are definitely in car cassette player length belts, but the only thing that uses them this long. Yeah, that's more like it. That might even be a bit too long. It's a little, it's not bad. It's 131, what was the next one? 127. That feels a little sloppy to me. It just fits a 1.4 belt. Try and get some of the twists out of it. Still a bit twisty. Get rid of some of those. Probably doesn't matter that much. That's a bit better. I think we've got one around the motor as well. Try and rotate that a bit. So that's the size. It was a 127. I don't actually know the size of that other one. What did I do with it? Threw it away. Yeah, so somewhere around a 27 by 1.2, so 27 and 127 by the look of it. Oh, I'll put these black screws back in. Hopefully this thing has gone back together. Feels a bit like something's not quite right, but no, it's alright. And that must have gone on there. And that on there. Looks like it's got a bit of dodgy brown glue or something on there. Unfortunately the camera cut out and I didn't realise until in the editing, but the next thing I actually did on this unit was go to clean the heads, and that's when I realised we had a bit of a weird head in the unit. Now these are a couple of heads out of a standard cassette player, non-auto reverse. That's the erase head. You can see it's got that band in one part, that's the ferrite, basically designed to erase the two channels on one half of the cassette tape. You can see the two guides there, so the tape is normally double that width. That just erases one direction basically. That's your record playback head. And in any non-reverse cassette player, we've just got this one black bit here. And again you can see, like, there's the tape guide. That's the full width of the tape roughly. So it comes from about there to down to the bottom of this blacker part. But that's your little head there. You can see it's a stereo, I think, because it's split in two. I think a mono one, you don't have those little metal pieces in between. Now if it's an auto reverse deck like normally the car cassette type, but also some boo boxes and stuff, it'll actually have a second black bit exactly the same as that on this other piece of bare metal here. And that was the standard way of doing it in car cassette players for years. They did, I think, make a head, think Wagner used to sell a head, so normally the head part is down where these screw mounts are. I think you could buy a head where instead of having it there, you just had a single stereo head, but it was on the upper part. No idea what they were used in. But the only other one you had was the rotary type auto reverse head, which is just a standard head like this with a little erase head attached on the end. And the whole thing would pivot right round. So when the tape's playing the other way, you're basically getting the other two tracks. And of course you've got to run them the other direction to still go from left to right type of thing. Now normally the head's mounted like that. So when you're playing, you're coming from this side across, so you're up on this side of the tape, the inner side basically. And then they would just rotate this around to the outer side of the tape. The tape would start going the other direction. Normally they'd have two little guides on them as well. And the idea was, because the erase head, you can't really have an auto reverse erase head, because if you just make this part wider and turn it on, it's going to erase both sides of the tape. I guess I could have made a dual erase head with two erase heads in one and switched either the bottom part or the top part. I guess that's a bit more complexity. The easier option in a record deck is just to reverse that whole lot around. That's how they normally sit, though. That precedes the erase precedes the record and playback, and then you can just rotate the whole thing around. The tape will then be coming across the other direction. You can erase it. And I guess that's the other problem. Even if you had a fixed erase head, of course, when you turn the head around, you're not going to precede it if the erase head doesn't go with it. So that's another reason to have it. Probably the main reason you can't actually switch between two. You'd actually have to have an erase head on both sides would be the other option. One that way and one the other way around, one for each direction basically. So I think that's why they just decided on record decks it's easier generally to switch them around. Normally just non-record decks is where you'll find auto reverse with one of those dual type heads. It's for record decks. I think a lot of boomboxes you'd get an auto reverse play deck and a non-auto reverse record deck for that reason. But in this unit, we've still got a very similar looking head to this, but the actual head pole pieces that pick up the magnetic information are right in the middle. So they're not offset to one side, they're not offset to the other side. They're actually centered, and then the whole head just slides up and down. So instead of reversing the head around to change sides, of course you can just move it across to the lower, to the upper part. It's got the guides separate, because these normally have fixed guides spot welded on the end like this one. So the guides are on a separate piece of plastic, and then you just move the head so it fits comes up to one set to the top part of the tape or the lower part. So there's basically your tape, and normally you've got it fixed in the guides there, and you can sort of see hopefully that's offset to the one edge of the tape. Turn it around, we're on the other edge of the tape. If you've got two sets of heads together, of course you can read both sides at once. So if you ever want to play a tape backwards, you can actually rewire it to the other side of a auto reverse head. But this other version is, you basically just move the head so that that little pole piece slides across the tape, so it goes from one edge and comes back across to the other, which is, yeah, quite an interesting way of doing it. I believe there was an old, I don't know if it was a reel-to-reel or another Akai, maybe just an Akai standard compact cassette player that actually did something similar a long time ago with quite a bit of added complexity. But I guess these days with cheap manufacturing, they can just design a little piece to slide it across, and it saves putting that extra bit of ferrite and copper wire and stuff in the head. But yeah, certainly a different design, that one. And yeah, you'll see the picture of the other one in the photo that I took. But yeah, it's just got basically across the middle there somewhere, probably about halfway across that head, and it'd be halfway across where the other one would sit above it. So they just ran it right down the middle between those two guides, and then they just slide it up and down. There's some sort of springs there and some little mechanism that rises and lowers depending which side it's on. I guess it's probably cheaper just to make it that way with a little mechanical device to move it than make a more complicated head and have some more precision ferrite and copper wire coils and whatever is in there. It's probably just cheaper that they realised they could make the metal springs and a couple of posts and whatever little lever in there. You've already got plenty of levers and stuff, I guess, so probably a plastic lever to push it up and down or something. Obviously cheaper to stamp out a bit of metal and mould a few plastic bits and put them in, and probably all done on a robotic assembly line or something these days, so probably a bit cheaper than putting a more expensive head in there. Had a quick look online and I did find something on, I think it's tapeheads.net, where someone's talking about one of these same type of mechanisms, except not a car one, and they say it's some sort of Panasonic mechanism. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's used in Walkmans. It's got basically the same style of centre mount head that goes up and down, and this has got a couple of plastic tape guides which it must move between the two of those. So yeah, new one on me as far as I can remember. I don't remember ever seeing one of these before. And yeah, goes to show you can always find something new with these things. Maybe there's still a bit of innovation going on at the very end of cassette players being a thing. And I'm not really sure what it really does other than, well, it looks like it's got a switch in there. So it's probably still got to switch something. But all it would really do is get rid of the head switch, but this head still goes to a switch. So that doesn't make much sense. The right and left channels might have to be swapped over, because in a normal auto, in a rotating head, the bit that's on the top gets flipped round to the bottom, which is the same as flipping the tape over. It's on the outer edge either way, so it'll be the same channel. So I wonder if this one they've got to switch the actual left and right channels over. That is about all I can think they're doing. It would explain why the left and right channels go to 2 contacts each. Yeah, one comes out there, one, if assuming that goes there, yeah, it's switching left. This red wire, I'm assuming, comes out, it's going to 2 pins, probably comes out that one or that one, which is left or right. The red and white wires here. And the other one goes into one here, and there's a track across to this one here. So yeah, again, it's on the other side of those. I don't think we even need to test it, but we can quickly check. I'm not sure if the coils of the head are going to make any difference, but let's have a look. No, that one's not connected, so the white wire is connected to the red wire. Red wire is connected to the white wire. Can I make this change direction? If I put a tape in there, I'm not sure which way we're meant to be rotating this thing. Nothing's working anyway. Oh, well, because I'm running it the wrong way, so we're just getting the tape looping up inside the cassette housing. I should have checked what way that motor said it ran. So we do that. If I hit that, and the motor keeps going, it hasn't changed it. Oh, there it goes. No, it hasn't. Still going the same direction. Well, I'm going to hook the bench supply up to it. That's going that way. That's working fine there. So I didn't do that before. I think I wanted to go that way. Let's just disconnect that. So we had red to white and vice versa. Now white to white, red to red. So it doesn't really do away with anything. Or maybe some switch contacts, but still, similar to before, still need a switch, so it doesn't really get rid of that. I thought maybe they could get away with a switch and just not care about if the channels changed over. I mean, who's going to notice on most audio whether your left and right channels are mixed up in your car, and who's really going to care? So red should now be to white, white to red. Yeah, the other one's got a higher resistance. So that's what it's doing. It's changing the left and right channel over. Well, that's a bit crazy. So there's no, like I say, very little material benefit over a rotary head anyway, but I guess it's a little bit cheaper than putting a proper dual head. But yeah, very strange. I mean, I know they used to make, I think Wagner's used to sell a head that had the the headpiece, the poles of the head on the opposite side, so the screws are usually on the bottom, and I think the headpiece is usually on the bottom. But they did make one, I think, with the screws on the bottom and the head was actually on the top. No idea what they ever used them in. I don't think I ever saw anything with one of those in it. And they had, of course, various versions of the mono head, stereo head, and auto reverse heads with the two heads in one type of thing. Headpiece for each direction, and no need to change the head around or anything. But yeah, pretty sure they never sold these ones, so these must have been the dying days of some cassette mechanisms. Maybe it was a Chinese invention or something, who knows. But yeah, pretty rare I think. Oops, the Mech's going. Okay, I think we're getting it now. But that bracket, someone designed that rather weirdly to catch on the heatsink there. I guess if you sit in the factory doing it all day, you probably know how to do it. Unless a robot does it. But getting these two front tabs up is also a hassle because the Mech is catching on the hole in the front. So not a great design to work on. Oh well, we should be right to screw everything back in. Now every screw is different by the look of it, so that's going to make life interesting. Not sure which one went where or why one's a bit longer than the other. But I thought I'd seen everything in tape decks. This is why if I see one really cheap, I think I might as well just buy it. Because at worst, if worst comes to worst, can probably just get the parts out of it. Might get a useful motor or something. This one probably isn't. A lot of used car ones are generally not a lot of use, because they're different to the ones used in boom boxes and stuff. And they're all 12 volts in these, of course. There's no lower voltage ones. But at a pinch you could probably get away with one of these to repair something. Now we've got two other screws. One went in the end. One went underneath. And that was probably just the top cover, I don't know. Oh, those washers make a weird noise when they slide down. Always worries me. Okay, that end's on. This end does not want to go on. That should be it back together, I think. Just a matter of hooking our power back up again. Well, actually, to be honest, the easiest way to hook the power up is probably put the ground there and hook to my bit of solder there. Something happened. And we're on. FM. Only using one channel at the moment. Well, it seems to work reasonably well. Certainly a lot better than it did. And as a bonus, we got to see a very weird tape mech. The only other thing with it, there's a fair bit of dust in there. It looks like a, oh it is, yeah, it's a releasable front, or removable front. You've got to be careful with some of these because you open them up and all the buttons fall out everywhere, so might be more trouble than it's worth, but it'd be nice to just get that bit of dust. So there's a small one up the top, longer one down the bottom, then another size there. Oh, that's another long one actually. So one short one in that corner, another short one in that corner, and I think all the lower ones are a bit longer. So we'll just leave them roughly in a pattern of where they came from. This is actually sealed up a bit better than the usual one, I think, which makes sense if it's going into a wet environment. Can we carefully prise this apart? Here we go. Maybe it just looks like it's got a gasket there, but no, I don't think it actually does. At least it's a nice tight fit though. Now, is everything about to possibly fall apart? So I'll keep that front facing down for now. Oh, it's got foam in there. Oh, there we go. Something's coming with it. One button still attached. The worst thing is if you get these buttons all fall out and you can't remember where they went, or you didn't know where they went, then there's trouble. We've got a bit of mess here. The release buttons come out. So that went in there, I guess. That's got a little pin thing, I think, to go a particular way, and I assume that spring, did it come off that, or did it might have come off these things? I don't know. Got a spring, it's on the button, so it must be that one. And, oh, your loudness when we flip that over goes, into that one. So it's just a tiny bit of stuff on the actual screen. So we've got light globes in here as well, they'd probably fail eventually. This one still seemed to light up nicely. Very carefully. Ideally this could do with a 1.2mm belt or 1mm belt rather than that 1.4, but it does just fit in there. I think I'll just keep this as a display thing anyway. It's kind of cool. Yeah, they just kind of looked interesting because they were a car stereo in white, which I don't think any actual car stereo ever was in white. Be an odd colour to have in your car. But I guess in a white car it'd look alright. Or if you've got a blingy white interior, white or cream or something, this probably would look kind of the part. Now, can I get this foam to stay where it belongs? I think I did, because I don't want to tip it up the other way and have all the buttons fall out. Let's see. Uh-oh, that one doesn't seem to be pressing properly. Release, springs back. That's pressing. Doesn't quite feel as good. Well, that's better. Needs a bit of a clean on the outside, but the inside's not full of dust now, which looked pretty bad. Release still works. And it even came back with the memory because it's so quick. And we're basically back together again. But the only other thing I think about I should do with this, or could do with this, is actually retro bright that and that piece around the front. Try and get them back to their original white colour. Well, there's the white at the top where the bracket's been. But yeah, this thing's designed to sort of match your CB radio, I guess, in white. Oh, that Actually a rubber piece under that one. There should have been a rubber one on the other side, I guess. I don't think that was in there. I thought I lost it somewhere. So there you have it. Interesting little unit in the end. Really just need a couple of new belts. But it's got a one weird head design in there. That's a new one for me. So maybe these are even a post-Tannishin mech. Actually some Chinese thing or something. It has these little lift-up heads in it. But unfortunately I don't think I could even find anything on the GME Electophone side or anything that came up. So we'll probably never know exactly when this came out. Or what mechanism it uses. Be nice to get hold of a service manual, but that probably still won't tell you what type of mech it is. But certainly a bit different. And that's basically all up and running. If it was something I was going to sell or something, I'd probably get a proper size belt for it, even though it shouldn't really matter. But there is a little bit of risk that bigger one is maybe touching on something that shouldn't, but I don't think it was. I don't think it's going to drop off on its own, but always best to replace them with the same size. But other than that, everything seems to work on it. There was a couple, I only checked 2 channels, but I think usually the grey and green go together and the brown and purple is the rears or whatever ones, the fronts. So I tried the grey and I think the brown, and they all work, so chances are it's all running. But really you should check every single one of them. But oh, that was something a bit different, so thanks for watching.